Alright guys, so the main event for UFC Fight Night, Edwards versus Muhammad. Obviously Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammad. Leon Edwards, I believe, was supposed to be fighting Khamzat Chimaev. I'm not really sure what happened. Something due to COVID, he said. Withdrew due to lingering effects of COVID-19. So Khamzat Chimaev is out of the fight, and for the Tapology predictions, it was pretty 50-50 on these. The betting odds actually had Khamzat Chimaev as more than a 2-1 favorite over Leon Edwards, who inside the UFC right now is the third best welterweight in the world. On Tapology is the seventh best welterweight in the world. Belal Muhammad, the 14th best on Tapology, and then in the UFC rankings, he's the 13th best welterweight fighter in the world. This fight's going to be very, very interesting. The betting odds for the fight, let's see. Minus 260, minus 255, somewhere around that range for Leon Edwards. And then the lowest you can get him, around plus 200, and then plus 226. So Leon Edwards is a little bit more than a 2-1 favorite in the fight. Most likely, I'm saying the fight's going to go all the way. Most likely, I say 2-1, 2 out of 3 chance that this fight goes all the way. If there's a finish, I think the man that's gonna get the finish would be Leon Edwards. He's a little bit more power on the feet, could get a TKO. Do I see a knockout from Leon Edwards or Belal Muhammad for that matter? I don't really see a knockout. I see maybe one of them clipping each other or one of them taking each other down, landing a lot of shots, getting in the back. Not really going for the submission, just going for the shots to the side of the ear, trying to get the TKO. I don't see a knockout. I don't see a submission. Most likely it's going to go all the way. One of these two guys is going to get the decision. But I would not be surprised if we see a TKO from Leon Edwards. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one from Belal Muhammad, but usually Belal Muhammad gets a bunch of decisions or he gets a submission. In all of his UFC fights, he only has 2 finishes out of his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins. So 2 out of his 7 wins ending in finish. So I think the chances that Belal Muhammad gets a finish, pretty small, but 18 wins, 3 losses, 32 years old. That's very interesting. That means he's actually older than Leon Edwards, who is only 29 and a half years old right now. Belal Muhammad is 32 and a half years old. Leon Edwards, 6'2" tall, so a little bit taller than Belal Muhammad. There's a little advantage there. And then a really good advantage in the reach department for 74 inches for Leon Edwards, and then 71 inches for Belal Muhammad. That is very interesting there. So a lot of advantages going to Leon Edwards so far. The age advantage, the height advantage, the reach advantage. He usually comes in to his fights a little bit heavier than Belal Muhammad does. You see his last fight, he went in right at 171. Belal Muhammad was actually under 170, so a little bit of a size advantage maybe. But they both have the same exact record, which is very interesting. Leon Edwards, 18 wins, 3 losses. He's on an amazing win streak right now. His only losses inside the UFC to Claudio Silva in a really close fight by split decision, and then the champion Kamaru Usman by decision. So far inside the UFC, he's gone 10-2. That is an amazing record inside the UFC. After that loss to Kamaru, literally no losses, just went on an amazing streak. Decision, rear naked choke submission decision over Vicente Luque. Decision win over Brian Barberena. Beat Donald Cerrone, I believe, in a main event right here. He beat Gunnar Nelson, he beat Rafael dos Anjos, and then, as you guys know, was supposed to fight Tyron Woodley at the beginning of 2020. Then Khamzat Chimaev, then Khamzat Chimaev again, then Khamzat Chimaev again. Every single time that fight just gets canceled over and over again. It's kind of like the situation with Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov. I don't think that fight is ever going to be made. But now we have Belal Muhammad and Leon Edwards. This should be a very interesting fight. Belal Muhammad, also 18 wins, 3 losses. He's on a 4-fight win streak over Curtis Millender by decision. Takashi Sato by 3rd round rear naked choke submission. And then 2 decisions over pretty good competition in Diego Lima and Lyman Good. Was supposed to fight Sean Brady. I'm not really sure what the betting odds for that one, but if these two actually were to fight each other, I'd actually go with Sean Brady. This dude's looking pretty good in the welterweight division right now. But before that loss to Geoff Neal, who just recently was in a main event with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He beat Randy Brown, Jordan Main, Tim Means, Chance Country, fought Vicente Luque, fought Alan Jouban. I mean, he's a very legit fighter on this UFC roster, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I mean, the only thing I really think Belal Muhammad has going for him is a close kickboxing fight. We saw in his last fight with Diego Lima. Let's check the stats for that fight. Belal Muhammad, Diego Lima. I mean, it was pretty dominant. I believe that was the most strikes he's ever landed in a fight. He attempted 264 significant strikes in the fight, landed 129 significant strikes to 69. He had double the amount of strikes, landing at a 48% efficiency rate. That's amazing, but he didn't really do that good on the takedowns. 1 out of 10 on Diego Lima. Not the best, had some good control time in the fight. But if you look at Leon Edwards' last couple of fights against very, very legit competition, I mean, Belal Muhammad has faced some pretty good competition, but not near the competition that that Leon Edwards has really faced in his last couple of fights. He's faced Javier Dos Anjos in a pretty close fight. He beat him in the striking game, had 92 significant strikes to 81. And then he had a lot of takedowns in the fight. Let's see, where does it show the takedowns? Up here. He had 3 takedowns in the fight, landed at 30%, had 7 minutes of control time. That's ultimately what won him the fight against Javier Dos Anjos. He always has that in his back pocket if he's fighting Belal Muhammad, and Belal Muhammad just does what he did in his last fight with Diego Lima and just looks really, really good in the striking. Leon Edwards can obviously take the fight to the ground and land a lot of good ground and pound shots against Belal Muhammad. Leon Edwards has fought Gunnar Nelson, so Gunnar Nelson, Donald Cerrone. I mean, look at all these dudes. Vicente Luque as well. So, I mean, Leon Edwards, he's just so much more experience against top competition. This is ultimately Belal Muhammad's biggest test to date. In a short notice main event, as you guys know, Khamzat Chimaev was supposed to be fighting Leon Edwards, and because it's short notice, Leon Edwards has been waiting for a fight for so long. 4 cancellations in the last year. He's been off for 2 years. That could play a factor, but ultimately, Leon Edwards, he is a legit contender on this UFC welterweight roster. I mean, honestly, Dana White said that if he wins this fight, he could be in title contention and might get a title shot against Kamaru Usman in their rematch. Or who knows, they might just put Colby Covington, they might put Jorge Masvidal, who knows. But this would put Leon Edwards one step closer to that title shot with Kamaru Usman in their rematch. But, I mean, it's short notice for Belal Muhammad. Leon Edwards, he needs this fight to get a title shot, so, I mean, his striking is pretty even with Belal Muhammad, considering that amazing performance from Belal Muhammad in his last fight with Diego Lima. But just the ground game of Leon Edwards, even if the striking is looking pretty even, he can obviously take the fight to the ground, land some good ground and pound shots, and I think that's ultimately what will secure Leon Edwards a win. I think it's going to be a pretty close fight. I have Belal Muhammad winning 1, maybe 2 of the rounds in the fight, but ultimately I think Leon Edwards is going to win the fight 48-47 in a pretty close 5-round main event fight, and that's why I have Leon Edwards winning this fight by unanimous decision.